Another sign of a messy, messy mess.
Tonight, we are getting more reaction after the release of recorded interviews in the Public Integrity Bureau's investigation of NOPD officer Jeffrey Vappie. Good evening, I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Lauren McCoy. The city attorney and the NOPD says the recordings were inadvertently released to a Hano board member before the investigation was complete, which the Independent Police Monitor says is possibly a violation of state law.
Yeah, for months, the NOPD's Public Integrity Bureau has been investigating Vappie, a former member of the mayor's security team, for timesheet irregularities uncovered during our outside the office investigations. As David Jones reports, those in the law enforcement community say the investigation is now compromised.
You could expect people could, will, and should question the integrity of the investigation.
This particular investigation has been a comedy of errors from the very beginning.
Eric Hessler, attorney for the Police Association, and Ronald Surpass, former NOPD police chief, blasting the release of recordings in the Vappie investigation.
Whether it's intentional or not, the appearance is concerning.
Hessler says it could have an impact on future Public Integrity Bureau investigations.
If officers or witnesses believe that their information might be leaked prematurely or at all, it could compromise their willingness to come forward.
Even if this was an innocuous error, it doesn't add up that people can feel safe and confident and officers can feel safe and confident.
Surpass agrees, saying even if the Public Integrity Bureau did not release it to the public, the fact that the audio recordings became public is troubling. The city attorney and NOPD say the recordings were inadvertently released to a Hano board member.
I can only say what I know from my 34 years of policing experience, my 14 years as a police chief, and I cannot remember one time where our internal affairs files was released to anyone other than through a court order or until it was a completed case and we referred it to the city attorney to defend our actions in a civil service commission or a lawsuit.
For Surpass, however, the issues with the investigation into Vappie began last year when the mayor defended him in public at the start of the investigation.
My officer, in regards to Officer Jeffrey Vappie, a senior police officer within the New Orleans Police Department, over 25 years there, no doubt about that, is a valued and trusted advisor and member of my executive protection team.
She exonerated essentially Officer Vappie's ethical behavior before the first question was asked. I mean, these are the kind of things that aren't done in professional modern-day governments and professional modern-day police departments.
Surpass again joining calls for an independent investigation into Vappie, his timesheets, and conduct uncovered in Lee Zurich's outside the office investigations.
The mayor gave a character reference of someone accused of misconduct under her direct supervision on television. That permanently, in my view, taints any investigative finding from the NOPD, despite how hard they may work on it. It doesn't matter.
David Jones, Fox 8, Local First.